free and open source software, and common term is called the FOSS. So understanding about the what is the free and open source software is a very useful for the implementation of this particular software. If we think back, some people think that the source code of a particular piece of software is an intellectual property of the people who develop the software. Well, it has some logical reasons for it, because the people put and the people pay for only for the running version of the software. And sometimes the people will have to pay more if they need the software plus the source code which was developed to produce the software. And but at the same time, we know the maintenance is not possible if the source code is not available, and some party could take an unnecessary control. And of course, when things goes wrong, if the access to the source code is not there, the software will die. So that is there. So there is a two trends, what we call in the world, proprietary development of the software, and the free and open source approach, or the FOSS approach, where the people give the source code and within a freedom. And the freedom has a higher meaning than the free. We will discuss them details later. So user may have to pay depending on the license. So even the FOSS will have several licenses, and FOSS doesn't mean things are free, but it describes something more than the free. You can modify as per your needs and share with others without any license violation. But of course, once you have some sort of an agreement with respect to the source code that protects the intellectual property, and also will facilitate to expand the thing more and more, because many people can contribute, can detect errors and correct errors and things like that. Free software. The users have the freedom of what? To run the software, the copy the software, the distribute or give it to someone else. Okay, study the code and how it really works, and change them as they like it and improve. So this is what do you mean? What we define as the freedom with respect to the use of a particular piece of software. The word free is a very subjective term. It depends its real meaning, vary from place to place. Free software is often confused with a free in terms of the money. So whenever we say the free, we get a feeling, okay, you don't want to pay. So, okay, so but the word free has the many the dimensions. So should not be considered only the related to the terms of in terms of the money. So it's something like a free speech versus free lunch. Okay, the free speech allows the freedom for the people to speak, but of course there may be a guideline. There may should not be make it harm for the others. There may be lots of things. Even the free speech should be within the particular framework. The free lunch most of the time uh, says that you don't want to pay and you will get it free. And so the free software will cover not only the money, the other thing, but it depends on the license once again. Uh, the license attached to the particular software. Can we sell the free software? A common question that people could ask. And if you are giving it free, the selling doesn't make any sense. That comes to the mind. But the whole story is a slightly different, because the people this whole concept is presented very nicely on a project called the Guru project. So I invite you to go to this website www.gnu.org and learn about it. And there may be different ways. Sometimes the people think, okay, you give the product free, but you charge for um, the delivery cost, and so little money. So it's again very tricky thing. Sometimes the delivery cost may be more than the actual cost of the product, and this kind of a thing happens somewhere. So probably the delivery cost on through in online environment is 100% free. You don't want to pay, fortunately. But the giving a free, it's a something more than that. So if I get a something free, can I give it to someone else? Yes, of course, I have a freedom if I have paid, but redistributing the free software is a good and legitimate activity. Okay, and copying the software is in a doesn't cost, and the people can make copies and give it to others. If you do it, you might as well make a profit from it. So how do you make the profit from it? I mean, it's a very tricky things, and sometimes in the most of the free software, people are charged for the after sales, okay, maintain the service and the kind of thing. So someone can think about the distribution of the free software as a kind of the marketing. Yes, in some cases, that's true. The free software, a program is a free software if the program users have a following four essential freedoms. Okay, that's a very important, I mean, to where we define more clearly what do you really mean by the freedom. Number one, the freedom to run the program as you wish for any purpose. Okay, so the people are not giving you a condition saying you can use this software only for this purpose, not for something, only to draw the pictures. Okay, not to type the diagrams. Okay, something like that. No, the freedom is given to the people. They can run it the way they like it. Freedom to study how the program works and change it so it does your computing as you wish. Access to the source code is a precondition of for this. So in this so-called freedom, the source code and the running versions are both distributed together, and people can study it, the whole logic, and if they want they can modify, and they can distribute the modified version also, and but subject to some of the conditions defined in the original license of the software. Number three, third freedom, the freedom to distribute the copies so you can help your neighbors. Of course, how about giving to the others the no harm? That will always help the people to not do a lot of things. So the freedom to distribute copies of your modified version to the others. By doing this, you can give the whole community a chance to benefit from your changes. Access to the source code is a precondition for this. Yes. So sometimes the people may think, okay, they get something free, they modify it, and when they are giving it free, giving it to someone else, they are not giving their modification. They want to hide or they want to charge. They give only the original thing. That's not the correct ethical thing. So the license, sometimes most of the license defines uh, if you are modifying what you got free, you have to give it to the others when you are distributing the source code, the modified source code also with the thing. That's a kind of the precondition people will have to agree in the license. Open source development. So yeah, you share the code which you are being developed of a particular project with the others, whether you know the other party or whether you don't know. It's an openly available for anybody to see, use, and access. So this is a big movement in the software world where the open source development has become a popular approach in the software development. So in this approach, the software development in which the source code of a software system is published and volunteers are invited to participate in the development process. So what do you mean by volunteers? They are not being paid. They are being but recognized. Sometimes the people can identify good volunteers and it will bring in a kind of a good reputation. If good volunteers will have a better chance of finding a job. So try to become a volunteer for an open source projects, and that will help you to learn a lot, and also you could become a very good contributor, and even that improves your especially your profile, as well as you can learn a lot which you can't learn from the most academic courses. The root cause of this the free software foundation is the fsf.org. Go and see. Advocates the source code should be not be proprietary. Okay, so earlier, especially the Microsoft and big companies, they didn't wanted to open their source code. Then they have a different argument for that, but rather should always be available for users to examine and modify as they wish. So this is very similar to capitalism and the socialism, where things are open. Open source software extended this idea by using the internet to recruit much larger population of voluntary developers. Many of them are also users of the code. Okay, so they use it, they contribute it, and the moment they identify the mistakes, they can go and correct and contribute. But there will be a key group which will manage the whole code base, and these things could be done. So it uses Git and GitHub or many internet online repositories to manage the code base, and the volunteers can become the contributors. The best known open source product is of course the Linux operating system, which is widely used as a server system and increasingly as a desktop environment. At an early stage, we had two operating systems. You may have learned in another subjects, Windows, and before the Windows we call it the DOS, and the from the Microsoft operating environment, and the Unix. Okay, so that's from the Sun Microsystem those days, and many other the companies, not only Sun Microsystems, and but later people wanted to have an Unix like an operating system which runs on the desktop, normal desktop PCs, where the Windows took over everything. At the same time, Mac OS is also kind of a proprietary software belong to a particular Apple Macintosh environment. But the Linux is also in a project. There was a bigger story which you can read it and learn, and made it public, and lots of people start contributing, and very quickly that became the most strongest operating system, and it open source approach really have to make it a more stronger, widely spread than that. Today, not only the Linux, many products, even including the Java, Apache Web Server, MySQL, all these things became a worldwide a very strong software product because of the open source approach. And at the same time, sometimes some of the big companies take over these open source product as a caretakers. So they just look after, they just pay for the key role players just to put it them on a full time and do it. And usually they call the product is open source. But some people don't like that approach. When big companies are sponsoring a particular software product, they suspect. The good case study is this MySQL. MySQL is a community-based real open source thing, but later Oracle started sponsoring and using this product, and the people start suspecting, because the Oracle has their own database management system, Oracle, and the MySQL, they think that they are trying to cheat the people to get the free labor to make it MySQL. Then they take the actual knowledge to improve their proprietary product. Therefore, you can see in the open source world there is a MariaDB is a popular one, which is what we call a fork. Okay, that some people can create in a fork. I mean, the people have a freedom, and they could even name that product in a different names. So the MySQL MariaDB is a good example for that one. So please spend some time, discuss, and use also the discussion forum to know more about the open source software. So open source is a business, yes, and more product companies are using an open source approach for the development. I think the Google, Microsoft today is also following the open source. It has become a new business model. Their business model is not reliant on the selling the software product, but on selling support for that product. Okay, after sales service. So usually people says the product is free. So that is a kind of the way how you take your product to the people. They believe that involving the open source community will allow software to be developed more cheaply, more quickly, and will create a community of the users for the software. Yes. So the economic conditions will not be a barrier to take something to the larger community. So the free and freedom has changed the whole society, the whole world. Yes, that's true. And some companies are using this as an opportunity to get some of the work is done. So everything has two sides. That's natural. And we go something. Okay, this is you will learn something more. Just as an example, I share TensorFlow is an open source machine learning framework developed by Google, which is very popular now among the many people. Facilitate the development, training of a machine learning model, AI-based software development. Okay, particularly deep learning models. It's facilitate. So provide a comprehensive set of tools and the libraries, building and deploying the artificial intelligence application. So the people, if you have a Google a Gmail account, you can register yourself and you can start using lots of tools free, and you can develop, and there is a license that you have to agree, and also not only the developing, selling the product, sharing and contributing, a lot of opportunities available. So I'm not going into deep, but I invite all of you to talk about the TensorFlow in the discussion forum, and you can search on the internet, you can find lots of details, you can share those information and give your opinion. Okay, let's discuss the most important part, open source licensing. Okay, which is actually governs the how open source is used, and what are the rules and regulations around the open source products. Fundamental principles of the open source development is that the source code should be freely available. It's okay. Otherwise, it's not really an open source. It will be a free software without the code. This does not mean that anyone can do as they wish with that code. Okay, making something, giving the code doesn't give it. But why? Legally, the developer of the code, either company or individual, still owns the code. So this is what I mentioned earlier as the intellectual property. Okay, they can place restriction on how it is used by the individual, including the legal binding conditions in an open source software license. Okay, how others can use this one when they make the code is open, but they can put the conditions. This is a very interesting. I think it's the now you can see in the many competition reality shows, and lots of people are singing other songs. So when they sing, usually the ethical practice is to acknowledge the original singer. But the singer, some of the people who are singing these songs may be better than the original singer. That also could happen. But the giving credit to the original singer as well as those who wrote the song are very important. So that is also a kind of a freedom that comes there. So somebody can't put in a restriction saying my song can sing only by me. Then you better not to sing that thing. Uh, Somebody can say like that. Some open source developers believe that if an open source component is used to develop a new system, then that system should also be open source. Okay, think about in this way. Suppose I got a songs and I modify the song. I sing that the modified song. Can I say that the modified song is belong to me? It's my song and nothing to do with the original singer. Hmm? Uh, so the same theory comes here. Okay, so always when you sing it modified version, we can see lots of songs like that. They use not only the content, even the melody and things like that. Others are willing to allow their code to be used without this restriction. The developed system may be proprietary and sold as a closed uh, source systems. I mean, there are no restriction. You can use it and you can make it in a close. We don't mind. And it's something like you give it the song to someone else and he modified, he sing it and say this is my song. And after that, there is no restriction. So the two schools of thoughts that comes out from the open source, that is governed by the licensing. So the licensings uh, create two parts for the open source products. So understand the different license versions you can understand on these two tracks. Okay, there are 5 license models available for the open source product. The first one we call the GNU, General Public License (GPL). Is also called reciprocal license. That means that if you use the open source software that is licensed under the GPL license, then you must make the software open source. So very clear and straightforward. You have a freedom to use and modify the software, but remember, under the GPL license, if you make any modification, you can't close it at all. You have to make it, you have to contribute, you have to make it open. So the developer of the product can name it as a GPL license. So most of the people, the real contributors of the open source product follows this license model. The second one is a slightly different, but it is created a big difference. A lesser general public license is a variant of the GPL license where you can uh, write components that link to the open source code without having to publish the source code of these components. So you can start contributing and making close some of the modules. So the people can do a different types of business from there. So that is also allowed. So original people can define. So if the LGPL is allowed, the contributors anytime can close their components. The other one is a Berkeley Standard Distribution, BSD, commonly known as. Is a non-reciprocal license, which means that you are not obliged to republish any changes, okay, modification made to the open source code. You can include the code in a proprietary systems that are so, okay. It's not only the changing and closing, you can take away to on other projects. So BSD given a bigger freedom to promote the product as well as to promote the other products with this license. The fourth one is known as an Apache software license, gives the permission to reuse the code for nearly any purpose, including the using the code as a part of the proprietary software. Okay, so under that Apache license, users are permitted to modify, distribute, and sublicense the original source code. Commercial use, warranties, patents, claims are also allowed within the Apache license. So people can completely develop a new product. They can claim it, even the patent, and the publish as their company product. Original thing will be something else based on the source will be something else. The terms and conditions under the license don't place any restriction on the code, but end users cannot hold the open source contributors liable for infringements. That's that's another thing. I mean, use it with your own risk, something like that. The fifth and the last one come with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, the very big, famous university in the US. The grants the software end users the rights such as copying, modifying, merging, distribute. It is notable for what it does not contain, such as clauses for advertising and prohibition of the use of the copyright owners' names for promotional uses. Okay, uh, things like that. So the very close Apache and MIT, you can discuss as well as study the what are the differences, how things work. So these 5 models, I mean, if you are trying to plan to develop an open source product in the future, so you may have to select what you think is the most suitable for your the project. Very interesting the way how people can proceed, contribute. More things are linked with an open source software development, which has become a key thing. Uh, Software engineering practices are available for the open source software development, community-based software development. Lots of things you can learn in the future. Okay, this makes the end of this uh, section of this part of the syllabus. Thank you.